Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Inky Swamp Boy and today I'm going to be trying the Teeny Weeny Art Challenge, which once again I was inspired to do after watching Casey Golden's video about it. She just has a lot of good ideas I end up wanting to try, what can I say. I'll make sure to link her original video down in the description. The challenge is basically to do a series of the same drawing on pieces of paper that get smaller and smaller until you literally can't go any smaller. I've been really excited about this challenge for a while because I usually work with quite small detailed art, so I'm curious to see how small I actually can go. I guess the question is how small I can physically draw anything that resembles the original image, and how small can I go where it's still a good drawing. So, let's see how I do. I started off with around an A5 size drawing, so the paper is about 21 by 14.6 centimeters, give or take, since I was cutting all these out by hand. I do a lot of my drawing on A5, so this seemed like a good place to start, although I think I would have definitely put in more detail if I hadn't designed this character with the intention of shrinking it down. So, I feel like this initial drawing definitely isn't the best of the lot. It's too big really if anything, but a good starting point anyway. Maybe I should have used a thicker line weight for this starting drawing or something, I don't know. My method for doing this was to halve the paper for each new drawing, which meant that every single drawing came from one single A4 sheet. The second drawing is about A6 size, so about 14.6 centimeters by 10.5 centimeters. I much prefer this to the first one. I feel like this is the kind of detail I'd usually put into this size of drawing. I was sort of working in my own comfort level because I think that's sort of a challenge, to see how small you can draw kind of in your usual style and in your preferred medium. But like, my absolute preference is just black line work, so I decided it was more challenging to have to do full colour. I chose a colour palette that will hopefully help the characters stand out against the background as things get smaller. Drawing 3 is 10.5 cm by just under 7.5 cm. Again, I felt like this was the best so far. I wasn't really losing any detail and I was finding it comfortable to paint. So at this point I was definitely feeling like I probably should have started the challenge at about this size of drawing, because there's really not too much variation between the first 3 drawings. Although I did start putting a thinner wash of ink colour down on the torso because I was worried about it getting muddy as it got smaller, and I think that was a good decision. Drawing 4 is about 7.5 cm by around 5 cm. This was the point where I was starting to have some issues. Most of it was fine, but I couldn't get the hand looking quite right. Despite that, I think this one is actually maybe my favourite of all of them. It's something in how the face came out, he just looks so cheeky. Number 5 is 5 cm by about 3.6 cm, and at this point I lost some of the line shading on the skull. I could have possibly squeezed it in, but I thought it'd look sloppy, and I was trying to still do as best a drawing as I could, at this point anyway. On to drawing number 6, which was 3.6 cm by 2.5 cm, and at this point the hand in particular is looking like a real mess. I guess that's a positive point of using a fantasy character. A lot of the anatomical stuff I could get away with to some extent, because he doesn't have super realistic proportions to begin with, but that hand, yikes. Drawing number 7 was 2.5 cm by 1.7 cm, and I think this is the last one that I consider to be an alright good drawing. Like, I would have this guy in the background of a drawing, and he isn't perfect, but an okay, smaller drawing. One thing that surprised me was that although I was literally halving the canvas each time, there wasn't a huge variation between, say, this one and the next drawing up. I guess it's not a perfect halving since the characters aren't half of each other, and since I was taking the previous canvas size and turning it landscape, to cut it into 2 new portrait orientation canvases, it isn't really fully halved at all, even though technically the area of the canvas is halved. Maybe, in retrospect, there should have been a bigger size difference, but honestly I thought that there'd be a bigger quality difference than there actually was. Number 8 is 1.7cm by about 1.2cm, and this is the point where I think I lost the original character. It's in the eyes, I think, since I was no longer really able to have the eyeballs at all, just totally black sockets. So, if the challenge was how small can you draw well, I think this would be my stopping point, but that wasn't how I interpreted the challenge. I wanted to see how small I can draw at all, so I wanted to keep going until I could no longer get this character drawn at all. Number 9 is 1.2cm by 1cm, and at this point I was just struggling to get the elements down. I managed the head, torso, legs. I could still sort of even get a bit of texture in the fur of the legs, and just about get the blue freckles on his shoulders, although they're very messy. It's definitely not a very good drawing, the hand is a mess, and the whole image is quite hard to tell what it's supposed to be, unless you look close. But I did still just about get everything down, so I went on to the next one. Number 10 is 1cm by 5mm, and this one was a physical struggle, just to get the ink line small enough. The good thing with using a dip pen is that you have some control over the size of the lines, but even so, I was having to use my finest nib and wipe most of the excess ink off it, which meant I could only do a tiny bit at a time, because I had to basically have it constantly on the verge of running out of ink. At this point, it was also a struggle even being able to see what I was doing, and to keep my hand steady enough. I probably could have stopped there, but I wanted to see if I physically could go any further, so I decided to try just one more. Number 11. This tiny little piece of paper is 5mm by 3mm, and I had to use a magnifying glass to be able to see what I was doing. I know it's by no means good drawing, but considering the fact that I managed to draw an outline that vaguely resembled the character, as well as get down the colours, it feels kind of like a success, even though I'm not sure many would see it the same way. Each line and everything was a huge struggle, so yeah, I knew I couldn't go any further. That's as small as I can go. So, that's my entry into the Teeny Weeny Challenge complete. And there we go. I feel like if I'd thought ahead of how many drawings I'd end up doing, I probably would have started a lot smaller. That said, the contrast between the first image I did and the last one is kind of great. I definitely lost it towards the end, but I was surprised at how long I was able to actually keep up some of the smaller details, and I think that my favourites that look the best to me are probably some of the smaller ones. I was so excited to try this challenge, and I wasn't disappointed because it was so much fun. I don't think I let myself down too badly either. I think I'm still allowed to say that I can draw things on a small scale, just up to a certain point. Thanks for watching, please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already for more art challenges, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!